The Tragedy of Macbeth is the latest adaptation of the Shakespeare play. It is one of my favorite Shakespeare plays, even though it's been like 10 years since I've studied it. And it also, well, this particular version is done by the Coen Brothers. Usually, when people think of the Coen Brothers, they usually think of their comedies first, like Fargo, Raising Arizona, Barton Fink, The Big Lebowski. So some seem to forget their serious films like No Country for Old Men and Blood Simple. This right here, 100% serious. It stars Denzel Washington and Frances McDormand as Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. And yeah, I would call this right here the best Coen Brothers movie that they've done in quite a few years. I wasn't a fan of the Buster Scruggs, mainly because I'm not a big fan of like anthology films, if that's even the right word for those. You know, films that feature a bunch of stories, a bunch of shorts that aren't even tied together. Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of Buster Scruggs. Hail Caesar was an okay film, but it wasn't anything big. This right here is a really good film. It all takes place on a soundstage. Well, like behind the scenes wise. Yeah, it's not one of those self-reflexive films that were like they know that take place on a soundstage. Yeah, they're able to they're able to fool us into thinking that this takes place purely on location, and that's really good on the Coen Brothers' behalf. But yeah, this right here, yeah, it's a really good looking film. It reminded me a lot of when Orson Welles did Chimes of Midnight, Falstaff, and when Laurence Olivier did Hamlet. Although Hamlet is more of a has more of a gothic feel to it, this one right here is more. It takes more of a normal classic approach to it, and yeah, that's the difference between this one and Hamlet from 1948. The thing that I thought was kind of a flaw with this, and yeah, maybe it's just me, but yeah, Denzel Washington, I thought he's one of my favorite actors ever, but I thought that okay, he slurs a lot of his words in this. He doesn't really do a good job of enunciating, and with Shakespeare, although it is good that he delivered his lines in the sense, like in a way where it's as if he was thinking about them. That's always key. It just seemed like he slurred his words a little too much when doing this, and he was about the only actor in this that seemed to be doing so. So because that this isn't as good as like his performance isn't as good as like when he did John Q or of course Malcolm X. Because in those ones it seemed that he didn't really slur his words as much as he did right here. And Shakespeare really got to enunciate really well. Frances McDormand, she's always fine. She does a really good job in this as Lady Macbeth. And yeah, the thing that I thought was okay. It's been quite a few years since I've actually studied Macbeth. When I was in high school, it went grade 9 you studied Julius Caesar. Grade 10 was Romeo and Juliet. Grade 11 it was Macbeth. Grade 12 it was Hamlet. And if you ever did correspondence, then it was King Lear. So yeah, it's been quite a few years since I've read Macbeth. So I I'd forgotten a lot, like just about everything that this is about. I remember some of the names like Banquo and Malcolm and Macduff. I remember the witches, but the general storyline was what I didn't really remember. And and when I was watching this, and okay, the movie is of course all in Old English, which is good. I mean, like the fact that they're able to retain that old language and not do a complete revamp of everything, make everything easier for this century to understand. That's good. But if you've never studied Shakespeare before, then it's going to be really hard to understand Shakespeare's language. But the way that Joel and Ethan Coen make this film is quite extraordinary because even though this is really old English, you're still able to get a really firm handle of what the film is about. The film is about Macbeth, who's been encouraged to do whatever he can to seize the crown for himself. But murder ends up happening, and so anyone that finds out that he's the culprit behind it all kills them, and he has to kill a bunch of other people that find out about it. So it's a really cool premise for it, and yeah, the movie does a really excellent job in really showcasing a really cool storyline, really simply too. As it said, I don't remember everything about Macbeth, but usually what Shakespeare liked to do is have multiple different storylines, like subplots to them that are kind of reciprocals of each other. So I don't really remember if this has as many as in the original play, but that's fine. This right here is still like if this is abridged somehow, like if Joel and Ethan decided to just eliminate some subplots to it, then they did it for the best. They did a really excellent job in doing so. And yeah, this is really one of okay. I uh, I would not call this film one of the best films of 2021 due to its much wider release date, 2022. So I guarantee that once January 1st of 2023 comes about, that I will call this the best film of 2022. So yeah, this right here, really good film. I loved it. I'm gonna give it 3.5 stars out of 4.